April 12th, 1861. A day that will forever be remembered as the start of the deadliest war in American history. Under orders from the Confederate President Jefferson Davis, troops controlled by the Confederate government under P.G.T. Beauregard attacked Fort Sumter with heavy artillery. The Civil War was a war between the northern and southern United States, a war between brothers. This war claimed the lives of approximately 620,000 American soldiers. The Union included all the free states and 5 slaveholding border states, and was led by Abraham Lincoln and the Republican Party.
When the southern states declared secession, the Union was shattered, leaving the North with only 23 states: California, Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Maine, Kansas, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Wisconsin. New York was a state notoriously known for its anti-war demonstrations. The aforementioned Enrollment Act of 1863 was not received with much enthusiasm. On the contrary, Colonel James Barnett Frye, the new Pope's Marshal General, felt that he had the vexing and troublesome duty to enforce this unpopular war until the war's end. The struggle between North and South incorporates how both sides viewed federal government and states' rights. As you might recall from our previous studies, one of the primary causes of the war stemmed from the South's petition of unfair representation due to Lincoln's victory in the election of 1860. Significantly, he managed to carry all of the free states and none of the slave states, winning with barely a third of the popular vote. The South, outraged at this obvious abuse of states' rights, withdrew its membership in the Union, viewing secession as a right. The federal government overstepped its constitutional powers.
Government is an agency of delegated and strictly limited powers. Its founders did not look to its preservation by force, but the chain they wove to bind these states together was one of love and mutual good offices. Jefferson Davis.
On December 24, 1860, South Carolina adopted the Declaration of the Immediate Causes, which induce and justify the secession of South Carolina from the Federal Union. It was the first state to secede from the Union. Eventually, 10 other states followed South Carolina. In declaring their secession from the United States of America, they formed the Confederate States of America. Jefferson Davis, a respected Mississippi senator, was elected to lead the Confederacy as president, along with his vice president, Alexander Stephens.
The head of the Confederate government was Jefferson Davis, a former Secretary of War from Mississippi. He was inaugurated on February 18, 1861, along with his vice president, Alexander Stephens from Georgia. Davis never wanted any fighting to arise out of the secession of the states.
The hope that the beginning of our career as a Confederacy may not be obstructed by hostile opposition to our enjoyment of the separate existence and independence which we have asserted, and, with the blessing of Providence, intend to maintain.
He was proud of his new nation, and saw it as a place where the rights of states and individuals would enjoy greater protection than they did in the Union.
Our true policy is peace, and the freest trade which our necessities will permit.
He wished that his nation would not only be left in peace, but also able to trade as freely as possible with other nations.
With the continuance of his favor, ever gradually acknowledged, we may hopefully look forward to success, to peace, and to prosperity.
He possessed a great love for his land and his people, for all of whom he looked to God for assistance in securing for them a happy and prosperous future. The cabinet of the Confederate government was modeled after the cabinet of the Union, containing such positions as the Secretary of War, Secretary of the Treasury, and Secretary of State. Unlike the Union's cabinet, Confederate cabinet members were allowed to participate in legislative debates. However, despite this extra freedom of action, the Confederate government was mostly a one-man show, starring the President Jefferson Davis. It's just that never